We're going to edit this part out. Welcome to Marketing Insights. I'm Matt Christian. This went to hell fast. Welcome to Marketing Insights with Murie Design Group. I'm Mac Christian, and this is James Albert.
Hello, everyone.
So this week we will be discussing, I'm going to stutter my way through this again, just like last week. So this week we will be discussing word of mouth marketing, which is ironic that I'm totally falling all over my mouth here.
Read the article. Don't listen to our words coming out of our
mouth. We are not professionals. Okay, so a few things to understand about word of mouth marketing. One is that it is the single most important piece of marketing that you have. It's the most effective means of marketing anywhere. So some numbers to rattle off to you really quick. I'm going to read these because remembering all this stuff is just beyond me. Word of mouth marketing drives around $6 trillion in annual customer spending. It accounts for 13% of all customer sales. Impressions result in 5 times more sales than paid media, and people are 90% more likely to trust and buy from a brand that is recommended by a friend. Those are numbers that you do not encounter in marketing, period, across the board at all. It just goes to prove that word of mouth marketing is absolutely the most effective means of marketing that you can find. Now, what we always find, and I think that you find this just as much as I do, is a lot of companies rely primarily on word of mouth, but not probably, I don't want to put it in terms of they don't understand word of mouth marketing, because I think that everybody does. I just don't know if they know the full effective range of word of mouth marketing. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think that's one of those where they consider it just a referral, like just really basic. That's it. Not all these other pieces that you put together here. And I do think that it's kind of the integrity of your brand. You obviously have the work you do, but then there's all these other pieces that you could work on to help that word of mouth.
Absolutely. So when you look at word of mouth marketing as just a referral, what a lot of people group it into is kind of the organic model of word of mouth marketing, or the how we wrote this up is I don't need marketing, I use word of mouth. And when you look at it that way, you're relying on just people passing things along. Like, hey, I have word of mouth marketing, people like my stuff and they pass it along. And there's ways to work with word of mouth marketing to make it more effective for you. You can actually use word of mouth marketing as a campaign. Agreed?
Yes. And I think part of it is tracking the right, there's ways to use it also if you were to grab, like you already have people that maybe are doing this on their own, but if you even give them the ability to like survey them and say, hey, would you give me a testimonial? Will you do these sort of things? It just adds to it. And it's all about finding people that want to say good things about you.
Yeah. Just making what you have going on more robust. Anybody can put a product out there and just hope people refer them. But if you can actually drive people to refer your product, obviously it's going to go a lot better. So jumping in here,
you gave them some avenues here of ways they can help drive it. Pick any of these. If you haven't done it before, try it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of the goal of setting this up for you guys. We're going to try to keep it a little shorter this week too. Last week we went about 45 minutes. We're
a little long-winded. Is that what you're saying?
It was a little longer last week. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll do our best anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So breaking down the different ways that word of mouth marketing can be utilized, we've narrowed down a few bullet points for you. There's obviously more ways that word of mouth marketing can be utilized. These are just what we highlighted. So if you see something in here that you use or that you want to use that's not in here, don't think that we're saying that that's not.
Well, they could even comment and tell us that. That would be awesome. We'd love to hear it.
Participation, tell us about it. Tell us what you think. That would be, yeah. So the first avenue for word of mouth marketing is kind of what we just talked about, is recommendations. This is kind of the organic lead gen that we're talking about. You make a good product, people like it. Joe talks to Bob, Sally talks to Sue. Trying to think about the last person I met named Sally.
I was just going to say.
I don't know where that came from.
You're speaking directly to a couple people. Figure like this would be a perfect spot to cut out and re-edit.
So with referral marketing, what you're looking for is a way to incentivize a referral. You bring somebody in, you offer them a discount for giving you a referral. You can do this through a few different means, right? You can have they get a discount on their next service. They can get a discount on overall service. They can get product. They can get anything that you can do to incentivize a referral can be set up as a referral program. There's all kinds of ways to do this. Basically, what you're trying to do is get people that you know to refer your product for an incentivization. Some people even do this monetarily, where people get money for referrals. These are common. We've run into this a few times. We've been proposed with this a few times. We don't do this in our minds. If there's a good product, a discounted service or a product related incentive is good enough, but paying somebody for leads doesn't. We haven't jumped on that wagon yet. And that's just different philosophies, right? It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just our philosophy. And then there's partnership programs where you can set up. Basically, what you're doing is you're setting up with another company to participate with you. It's sort of like what we work with a lot is co-branding, and I know that you've worked a lot with that, James.
Yeah, a lot of our clients have done that. So we've done quite a few different campaigns around co-branding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's definitely one where you just think of a win-win. How can two things work together for the same cause and be able to both be able to, a win-win is what we're hoping for.
Yep, absolutely. And with that, with marketing related co-branding, or in this case, partnership programs, you can set up a few different things. You can set up a guest blogger and this is where you get to blog on somebody else's website. They can blog on your website. It's kind of a cross promotion. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. You can do the same thing with social media through sharing, and really that's kind of what sharing is it's you're getting content out there with people. But when it's a partnership program, it's a little more formal, right? You set up a contractual agreement with
That's
somebody.
what I was just going to say. Yeah, usually it has some sort of a form you're filling out, something that kind of determines the terms. That's a horrible way to say that, but yeah.
Determines the terms. Yeah, but that's what it is. You can also co-host events together. You get together with another company. Say if one company offers insurance and one company offers mortgages, and another company offers I don't know, we'll say real estate. There's mortgage, real estate, and insurance all in the same room, and they host an event.
Well, and that way I look at it's a win between the sponsors that are sponsoring that or co-hosting it, and it's also a win for the attendees, because now they have more variety that is of different types of companies that are sponsoring.
Yep, absolutely. And then the one that we are more familiar with, which is co-branding, and James, you can speak to that a lot better than I can. Co-branding initiatives are another form of partnership arrangements.
And those usually are coming down through the large entities typically do that, but doesn't mean you can't do it in a large or in a small company also. So it comes down to just finding ways that the two can work together. So
yeah, absolutely. I've been saying absolutely a lot. No more absolutely for me today. We're gonna absolutely cut off.
What's funny is when this 40-minute talk gets down to 5 minutes and it's just saying hello. That's gonna be a good one, because we've cut out everything we've said. We've had
maybe we'll get more views.
Yeah, maybe.
Next on our list, networking. Networking is there's a lot of ways to describe networking. It's just getting out and meeting people, and there's of course just going out and knocking on doors and shaking hands and kissing babies, that kind of thing. Networking is also set up into a more formalized process through a lot of organizations that are designed to network. And we've just outlined a few of those organizations. You can check through our article. We've listed them all out, including price points, what they're all about, and kind of what the value is of those organizations. Different geographical areas are going to have different benefits with different organizations. The stuff that we see here in Boise, Idaho, is not going to be what you see everywhere else. And
some of these are nationwide. So
yeah, some of these are nationwide. You'll see some of these in some places, like your BNIs, your Vistage, things like that. Chamber of Commerce is nationwide. You're going to see those things, but do your homework. There might be some meetup kind of networking related organizations in your area. We have locally, meetup I think is national as well, and our local one is Toulouse.
a lot of them do trials too, and it's worth going. Like if they'll give you come visit our event, go to it. Especially for a free one. See what they're about, see if it's a format you'd like.
Yeah, and there's in the personality. You really need to assess the personality of the group and what works for you. So in our case, we tend to move in a less formalized kind of system. A lot of them where like you have to bring in guaranteed leads and you have to refer so many things per week and you have to show up so many times and you can't be absent. Our schedule varies a lot, so it's one of those where I can't guarantee I can make every meeting. I'm not going to obligate to this group. I'm not going to just like make up leads and send it. There's some things that for us as a business that didn't work out, to where we've gone into other groups that are more set up to where, hey, we're just getting to know each other, and this is just a pure relationship oriented group that we've kind of pushed towards. But the models that do require leads do work for a lot of companies. So it's one of those where you've got to evaluate for yourself. You did a James remix on me.
A little skip it.
And do it again.
Okay. I'm not sure what I was saying exactly on that point. Oh, this part. I'm sorry, Mac. I just messed it up. So, a lot of times on the networking, you try to you stay within your industry when you're out networking, and I think that it's helped us especially to get outside of our own comfort zone and outside of our own industry, and really kind of learn and find out what those other industries are doing. And that's where it's helped us. And I think that it's just our comfort zone that way, where a lot of people go out and network and they go, okay, I'm going to stick around the people I know, the industry I know, talking points I know. And you can always go out and don't worry about looking stupid and asking questions, because I do think that's when you learn.
Yeah, I do a lot of this looking stupid part. Really good.
Both of us, yes. Hopefully we're learning from it.
Stupid. So, okay, well, next up on our list of word of mouth marketing techniques and ideas is promotional products. And this is something I work with promotional products. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. The reason I included this in word of mouth marketing is by using a promotional product, you're essentially turning somebody else into a walking billboard. They're wearing a hat from your business. Somebody asks you like, why the cool logo on that hat? Or, cups or whatever you have, you're trying to create talking points with those. I worked with those a little bit, but on the screen with me is somebody with 20 years of experience of working with promotional products that can speak to that way better than I can. So.
Yeah, I think I have close to like 25, 30 years of that. And really It comes down to, you're trying to find something that people would want to wear. It's not even wear or use or have on their desk. And that's where most of the time we try to find something that relates to the brand. If you have something that is on your desk, relates to the brand, and something you're going to use. If it's something that one doesn't relate to it, isn't something someone else would use, then it's just going like garbage, and you wasted any money that goes towards that. But if you find something that people either think is creative, is unique, is cool looking, or usable, then they're gonna transfer your logo so that everyone else can see it, or your brand, or your message.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to that, and this is, please knock me down if you disagree.
No problem. Go ahead.
Because this is total just my input on it, is if you do something like a hat, do a good hat. Like, don't give people something they're never going to wear. Like it might cost less, and that's great. But if it looks like a chunk of cardboard with a bill, like no one's going to ever wear that hat, and you just wasted it. It might have cost cheaper per unit, but no one's going to wear it. Or if you get, the shirt that fits everybody, like one of those, like if everyone gets a t-shirt that fits them like a Snuggie, they're probably not going to go in public with that, which defeats the whole purpose of creating marketing material out of it.
Well, it's nice to see something that like maybe you created, 10, 15 years ago, still being used. Or still, and that's where it comes from, is think of what things you do in your day-to-day life or your customer's life, put yourself in their seat, and then see what kind of things you think they would use. And that's where you're gonna get more benefit from it.
Yeah. So look at the quality of what you do with promotional material. Look at how it's used, and like James said, be creative with it. Like do something that is creative. Okay, I want to move on so we don't get stuck too long, but I know we could talk to that for a while.
Yeah.
Social media shares, hashtags, mentions. social media is something that I think gets probably overlooked when somebody considers, not, I mean, it's obviously not overlooked. It's really widely used, but when it comes down to word of mouth marketing.
Thank you. Yeah, there's that difference between, placing ads and doing social media is different than what we're talking about here with the word of mouth on it.
Yeah, and the goal, when you're talking about word of mouth with social media, you're not talking about a social media ad. What you're talking about is it's something valuable that people place value in. It's something that does something for somebody. It can be a repost of a good, useful article that can create word of mouth. Just by association is where you get linked up through something like that. But if you're putting out material that is useful and creates conversation, that is technically, that's what your word of mouth marketing online. You're trying to create the dialogue and you're trying to get that shared. And
let's say there's a like that posts up there, and we all know that, like, when you're viewing something else, you get to see, oh, this person liked this. Well, if that's the case, then you're promoting it. It's word of mouth through your own liking.
Yeah, and the highest point of that is going to be your shares and engagement. Click-throughs are obviously a great thing, but when it comes down to it, it's the whole kind of theory of the marketplace being relationship oriented versus transaction oriented. Like, you can just feed people and get them to buy stuff, and that's going to produce some sales. But when you form a relationship, get people talking about something, it's a totally different bond with your brand. And it's the same thing you're trying to do between networking and what you're trying to do with social media. So those are
creating a community around it. It's
exactly.
Kind of community, yeah. And I also, it's kind of weird because I was just thinking, it's almost like a word of digital mouth at that point.
Yeah. Which is where it gets, a little gray, but it's still word of mouth. Is kind of where it goes, and that's getting people to bite into that is the challenge. So then next up, online reviews. That's a big one. It goes into the same statistics that we went right off the bat. Is not only do people follow the word of friends, I research when I buy like a lampshade online. I look at Amazon reviews, I look at product reviews. We listed a few in our article that you can look at, including check out what you have going on the Better Business Bureau. Look for independent resources that have reviews, and once you find those, if they're not public, make them part of your marketing initiative. Let people know that, let them know the good word, and let them know about what you're doing and what people think about that.
And also don't rely on the fact that or don't worry about if you get a bad review, because I do feel like you can go in and you can change a person's review. Some of the best reviews I've seen is when someone goes in and says, okay, this is a review, and then it's followed up with, their customer service came back in and helped me, and now I'm a 5. And it's one of those where that made me go, okay, so they're responsive, they're relatable, their product is guaranteed, or it's their service is there when you need it. So I think those are the kind of reviews that I also look for, because if I'm going to do service, or if I'm going to buy a product, I want to know that there's a service around it too.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too, and that has to do with the engagement side of marketing. If you work with reviews, I mean, really, when you're talking about online marketing, it's the single most valuable thing that you have. And if you get one of those dingers, right, like you get one of those 1s or a 2, or if I could give it less than a 1, I would, because we've all seen hundreds of those.
Yeah.
Don't do what a lot of companies do and just shuffle that thing under the rug. Be on top of it, address it, hit it. Like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Tell me what I can do. Be a service organization. Any product not backed by service loses, significant share. So always jump on top of that. Always try to address it. And then if you do, even if it's not published, push it. Show how you address the problem. Like Domino's Pizza is a great example, right? Like, everyone hated their crust, and they went public with it, and they turned it into a whole campaign.
They made a campaign around it, yeah.
Yeah, or you see online, there's a lot of, I'm not going to bring anything up off the top of my head. There's a lot of really witty organizations out there that have addressed complaints in a very witty and effective way, and they've dealt with these issues. Follow those, look them up. I'm not going to do it right now. So next up is influencer marketing. This is a unique marketplace. When we're talking influencer marketing, essentially what you do is you find somebody that has a channel that's not like ours for these videos. People actually watch influencers. So we,
Oh, and the idea too of this is marketing on the cheap. I do think that you put in some areas here where one is to look for people who already have kind of a base behind them.
Mhm.
But I think that you can obviously pay, thousands and thousands of dollars to someone who maybe already has a large base. But what about trying to keep it on the low, or keep it on the cheap, or whatever it is, marketing on the cheap? And you could find ways to, okay, you could actually kind of create an influencer, and that even builds it up better. If you find someone who relates to your product, who you think could be great, create that relationship and set up a contract, and potentially, then you'll be one of the first in their base, especially if they're growing.
Yeah, and to speak to that too, there's a few different guidelines to look for when you try to find an influencer. One is to make sure that it reflects your base. So if it's an influencer that does hunting, they're probably not going to talk about your Armani kind of product if it's a high-end product or something, unless it's like an Armani hunting outfit.
Hunting bag.
Yeah.
New product.
I want to see that. I really, really do. So yeah, you look for that. Make sure that the influencer works with your already existing target market. Don't try to stretch it. There are a few that just do reviews. Even within those reviews, you're going to find a demographic in there. So there's tech reviews, there's shoe reviews, there's things like that. Just be smart about who you find. Try to find somebody with a base of at least 1,000 people. That's kind of when it starts to be an influencer. So try to look for something like that. And the next part is to look for it doesn't so much matter if they have 10 million views. I mean, obviously it matters a little bit, but if they have 10 million viewers, but they release content really sporadically and it's unpredictable and those kinds of things, you want somebody that produces consistently. Look at how often they produce, look at their last year
and what they produce.
Yeah, and make sure that they're producing weekly. It's just a repetition thing. When they do videos and output on a regular basis, they become more valuable and cause higher traffic, higher conversion rates, all that kind of stuff. The stuff that you need as a marketer. And there's a few ways to set up an influencer thing. If you've never done it, don't be intimidated by it. It does take money. Granted, there's a few that do it for free. You send them they cost you a product, right? You send them a product and they'll review it. But a lot of times to get a mention, there's a contract that they'll do, and they'll mention you so many times per the contract. Those can be expensive or affordable depending on the popularity of the influencer. So if you use influencer marketing, just be discerning about it. Like, the whole goal of this is for small and medium businesses, or small and new businesses, actually, sorry. And you want to be smart with your budget. That's the most fundamental part of it. So just be smart with your contract upfront with what you do.
And I would just like to add at the end of this that, the idea of, having some integrity of your product and your brand, and because your reputation does precede you, and that's that word of mouth, and then just be truthful to yourself at all times.
Yeah. So get out there, watch your budgets, you small and new businesses, and get those mouths and words moving, and happy trails. This is Marketing Insights with Murie Design Group.
Good luck.
Good luck.